Hey, Jess B, how are you? Jess B 4963. How are you? I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? I hope so. Hey, Simone, how are you? Snowman Dave, Yellow Snowman Dave, what's up? Tyler 420, Troy, Nick Carroll, Brian Mons, Motorboat, Shane Singer, awesome. San Fran, Iramic, OG, Kathy Hayes, how are you? There's Janie, the channel's godmother. How are you? David, Randy Man, Harry, Delirium. How are you, my friend? Get my tea here. I say hi to your puck wudgie as well, Brian Mons. Smitty, Julie, how are you? CBH. Ruth, how are you? World Series has been wild, man. Holy cow. 4-4 right now. 4-4. This has been one of the best World Series ever, I think. Myself, personally. I am doing well, Jane. Troy, how are you? Did I say? Jane Doe, how are you? Rough Cuts. Wanda. Aramic is most excellent. Most excellent, bro. MJ Bates, how are you? Simone! George Coker, how are you, my friend? I hope you're doing well. Southern Charmer, Conscious Wanderer. My 7-year-old son loves the encounter. Oh, thank you, David, son. What's his name? I'll say hi to him. Nexus, how are you, my friend? I hear you, George. I hear you. I gotta just check the score. Check the score. Fuck. God, I literally will throw my computer across the room if fucking the Dodgers lose tonight. His name's David. David Jr. How are you? I'm so glad you like the show. That's so awesome. You got an awesome dad for introducing you to cryptids. Ruby, how are you? 175. 175. Marianne, how are you, dear? Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Tom Ho, how are you? Turbo Christ. Carl. Cajun Carl, the Bigfoot whisperer. What do you whisper to that Bigfoot, Carl? Dirty nothings. I bet you whisper dirty nothings to that Bigfoot, don't you? You dirty, dirty, dirty man. San Fran, I agree with you, my friend. Christopher, how are you? I had to run downstairs last week and grab it, Jess. I haven't seen Mr. Just since October. Oh boy. I literally read it and I'm like, wait a second. I almost was tricked by it, Aramic. My brain was like, I don't know, Turbo. I don't know how much a pawn shop would pay for a play button. I know mine's priceless to me, so I imagine some people probably sell it. Don Combs, how are you? Well, you're not running late, Marcy. You're right on time. You're right on time. Jilly, how are you? Jilly Bob. Neutrino waves. Got some really good Lizzo stories tonight. Got some really good encounters for you tonight. Let's have a good night. I think we'll start the encounters when we hit 100 people in the mix here. Oh, come on. Oh, bottom of the 10th. Motherfucker. Charlie, how are you? Michael Gregg. Oh, I'd never get rid of mine. My play button will be with me forever. Monkey crap, how are you? Eddie? Wait, is it Edie or Eddie? Eddie. Paula, how are you? I hate when they put, like, when YouTube puts the numbers on the back of everything. It just messes my eyes up. I don't like it. Peace be with you too, Neutrino Waves. Peace be with you. Is anybody's, like, symptoms? Has anyone got the fall allergy symptoms yet? Mine are just worse and worse. Nobody told me he used to write. He was an Eagle Scout on all his job applications. Oh my God, no. Stolen Boy Scout valor. No. That is the worst. I almost was an Eagle Scout, but our Boy Scout pack was closed down. Actually, all of the Boy Scout groups around here were closed down because of one bad guy, one really bad, dirty guy. Scumbag. He died in prison too. So I had to join the that sucked. Check the score. Oh, it's still 4-4. 107 people are in the chat. We shall start with some experiences right now. I'm going to start the evening off with a Connecticut experience for Jane and all my Connecticut-ese. Those Connecticut-ese, please. All right, here we go. No, it's baseball, Simone. World Series. I'm not a big fan of soccer. I know you Aussies call it soccer. We call it American football. Jane would be a Southern belle compared to me because she's just south of me. Wolf Moose Bear. Yeah, you haven't seen it. There it is right there. All right, let's start this night off well. I don't drink beer. In Meriden, Connecticut, about 10 minutes outside of where I live, there exists a range of mountainous trap rock ridges called the Hanging Hills. The easiest way to get to them is to park in a wooded mountainous park called Hubbard Park. Take a trail that starts with a slightly intimidating passenger bridge that crosses over a highway. I'm afraid of heights, but always try and challenge myself by going hiking and putting myself in slightly uncomfortable situations to overcome my fears. In the spring of 2014, my wife, girlfriend at the time, and I decided to take our umpteenth hike up the hanging hills to see Castle Craig, a stone tower that stood at the end of the main trail and overlooked the cliffs, the city of Meriden, and the Quinnipiac Valley. For the umpteenth time, we launched into a discussion on the drive there about the legend of the black dog. I find ghost stories that have any shred of historic reality to them intriguing because most representations of ghosts on TV or social media these days involve people becoming easily scared or shaking or noises on an abandoned location. But the legend of the black dog is an exception because it involves the legend itself and a story of two geologists in the late 1800s encountering it and actually documenting it. The legend has that you see the black dog of Hanging Hills once for joy, twice for sorrow, three times for death. There are plenty of legends of black dog in folklore that tell a similar tale. The two geologists, W.H.C. Pynchon and Herbert Marshall, were conducting research in the area in the winter of 1891 when they encountered the black dog. According to Pynchon, he had seen it once and Hubbard twice before. Hubbard did not believe in the legend. After ascending the hill again alone, Hubbard supposedly fell to his death. I remember the image of the black dog from W.H.C. Pynchon's story very clearly every time we hiked up that mountain. This time it was no different. That particular day, my girlfriend and I encountered a hiker on the trail that was letting his black dog without a collar roam loose. We were not sure whether it was to mess with people or not. The dog wasn't little like the one depicted by Pynchon's story. Rather, it was bigger, like a lab terrier mix, but friendly. It came right up to us and started panting at our legs. Sorry about that, the hiker said as he caught up to his dog and us. Not at all. I bet you love having a little legend with you around here. Oh, yeah, the ghost dog, the hiker said, forcing a laugh and grimacing as if he had heard that one too many times before. As he walked away, my girlfriend made a comment about my obsession with the stupid dog and not wanting to hear about it anymore. We made our way to Castle Craig 20 minutes later. Unlike the trails off the highway, the main trail from the park is not long or difficult other than a large hill at the very end. We took some photos on the top of the tower by the cliffside, not really thinking anymore of that black dog. We had made so many trips up to the tower and seen so many hikers with black dogs that the legend almost seemed like it was a joke at this point. Want to take the main trail down or the road? I asked as we finished taking pictures and drinking whatever water/Gatorade we had in our packs. The road, she insisted. We can see the river. The road leading up to Castle Craig is typically taken by cars and bikers. We sometimes hike down it and catch a glimpse of the river on the way back to the park. Despite it being a warm April day, there were very few cars and bikers on the way down. It was nice and quiet about a quarter of a mile into our walk. My girlfriend tugged on my shoulder and pointed to a figure on the side of the road between some shrubbery. It was about 10 feet ahead of us. What the hell is that? She said. I took a step forward, but she tugged my shirt and shook her head. Is that what I nodded. All I could do was nod. The figure was small and resembled a black dog with floppy ears and a hot dog tail, much like the one in Pynchon's illustration. I wouldn't have thought too much of it if not for the fact that the figure was blurry. It wasn't the distance between us that made it blurry, and there weren't any fog-related conditions that day. It was almost as if Mother Nature had taken the dog in a Photoshop program and used a blur effect on it. Even when I took a step closer, my girlfriend's hesitation, it still looked blurry. We were frozen otherwise, though, and didn't think to take a picture of the figure. There was an unknowing understanding between us that we should not approach and just wait for it to cross. But it did not look at us. It just dawdled with its nose to the ground. For the rest of the hike, we were silent. We both knew what we had seen, but couldn't put it into words. It was only after, while that I said I should have taken a picture, but deep down I felt it was a good thing that I hadn't. Seeing the figure wasn't frightening, but it wasn't a pleasure either. We have been back to the Hanging Hills many times since. We have never encountered any luck or sorrow, just the memory of the little blurry black dog and an understanding that when you see an actual paranormal entity with someone else and understand what it is, there isn't really a question about it. I have read many experiences about the black dog. Few have described what we saw. Black dogs run loose in the park all the time, and a number of the encounters we have read about seem like fabrications or just encounters with a stray. If you live in the area or have a similar experience, I'd be very interested in hearing yours as well. I haven't met or spoken with a person that had a similar experience. I also haven't been able to objectively rule out what I saw. I am open to any scientific explanations on collectively seeing blurry figures in shared experiences. It would be disappointing but interesting to know about a more logical explanation as well. Truth Quest, how are you? Samara Osborne, how are you? Tori Hayes, Walter, Jager, how are you? Good girl is Neil. How are you? Shadow King, been YouTubing. I don't think it was a dire wolf. It's not very big. The legend of the black dog in that area is not a very big dog. It's bigger, but it's not like a very huge dog. Definitely not a dire wolf. Fuck! We're ahead. Fucking 5-4. All right. Where's my jewel? Did I throw it? Fuck, what did I do with it? Sonia, how are you? White boy, how are you? Gilbert. Handed out 3 bags of candy last night. You ate the other 7, didn't you, Adam? You're like, I'm keeping those fuckers for myself. I'm keeping them all to myself. Delirium, thank you so much. When I die, I want to be buried with a bunch of pictures of my wife so God can see I've already been through hell. Oh my God. Delirium, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, love. Thank you. You are too kind. Oh, thank you, Neutrino. Come on. Just end the game. Just fucking end the game. End it. Wait, what just happened here? Wait, we were 5. Yeah, okay. Bottom of the 11th. That means if we finish this, come on. We'll just do one more story, and then we'll know who won the World Series. How about a shadow? Ooh, this one's good. There's always something good about a scary story. And this one is, there's nothing more scary than seeing a demon in a church. And I just don't know how that works, but apparently it does. Disclaimer, this is not my experience, this encounter that a friend's husband had about 4 years back. He's a police officer in North Carolina. Let's call him Mark for privacy sakes. One night, Mark was working the night shift and got a call that a security alarm went off at an old Methodist church in town. Apparently, this had happened before, and it's always a false alarm because nothing was ever there. Police chalk it up to faulty wiring because the church is pretty old, but they still go out and check just for protocol reasons. So Mark heads out with another officer thinking that this is going to be an open and shut case. The church has 2 levels. On the top level is where they have rooms for kids' Sunday school and that sort of stuff. Mark turns the alarm off, and together he and the second police officer start sweeping. They don't find anything downstairs, but when they turn to go upstairs, he immediately got a bad feeling. The other officer actually refused to go upstairs with him because she felt it too and was really freaked out. So she stayed at the bottom of the stairs as a lookout while Mark went upstairs. Mark opened the door to one of the Sunday school rooms, and he swept his flashlight across the room, and that's when it happened. He heard a low growl coming from the corner of the room, but when he turned his light toward the sound, there was nothing there. This room also had some of those fancy electronic books that can sing when you open them. This one's for real little kids that sing nursery rhymes. Well, as he was standing there, he heard one of the books start to go off and sing like it had been opened, except again, nobody was there and the room looked empty. That was enough for Mark, and he booked it back downstairs, told the other officer that they were leaving. I am not sure if the alarm ever went off again after that, but my friend also told me that he had been in that church during the day before this happened, and he got a weird vibe off the place as well. Nope, and nope. There's one story about a little girl who was up Sunday school. I think it was like night mass or something. And the second floor, for some reason she's on the second floor. No one's up there with her. Oh, she had to get something out of one of the Sunday school rooms. So she goes up there, and for some reason, all the lights were off except the one room that she had to go in. And the hallway was pretty long. The hallway light didn't turn on. So she had actually gone into the room, not thinking anything of it. She wasn't scared at this time because she's in a church. She gets whatever she needs out of the room. And as she's walking out of the room and gets like right into the hallway, the light turns off. As the light turns off at the end of the hall, there's a window. And because of the light coming from the inside or outside in, she sees the silhouette of a figure. Neutrino Waves, thank you so much. Did we? We fucking won it. Yes! 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 We are the champions. What a year. I get my play button. The Dodgers win again. What a year. Dodgers. Craigers, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so the hallway, she sees the figure and she gets freaked out. She immediately stops. Burr! She looks and there's another set of stairs at the other end of the hallway. This other end does not have a window because it connects, like that wall butts up to the church itself. So as she turns to walk back that way, the figure that she sees back there is now there because the light from the stairwell has now illuminated this. She turns back to look, and that figure in the window area is gone. So she looks, sees it again, looks back, it's gone, and she starts to run. As she's running down that hall, all the doors start to slam shut. She makes it to the bottom of the stairs. Her parents are there waiting for her. She's out of breath. She tells her dad what had happened. Her dad was like something in the church, some sort of deacon or something. he tells the wife and the daughter to just go home. That he'll be home in a minute or two. He's going to check it out because she's very upset. He ends up going up with another parishioner, and the light works. The hallway light now works, and so he walks through. All the Arabic! Thank you so much, brother. You guys are awesome to me tonight. Thank you, guys. So all the doors are now open. Now, mind you, she said they were slamming shut. The dad could actually hear them slamming shut. He was actually mad at the daughter because he thought she was fucking around. Nope. So they get to the room, and there's nothing in the room. They turn the light off. They start walking down the hall, and the light in the hallway goes off. As the light in the hallway goes off, they turn. For some reason, they just got this weird feeling to turn and look into one of the rooms, one of the school rooms. They turn, and there is a black figure in the middle of the room. And the dad turns on the light in the room, like he puts his hand in, turns the light on, and nothing's there. Turns it off. It's there. And he looks at the guy and he says, "Are you seeing this?" And he said, "Yeah." So the dad goes, "Stand by the light. I'm going to walk in the room where that figure is and turn the light off, but be ready to turn it on when I say." So the dad walks in. He gets to roughly where the shadow figure is, and he says, "Turn the light off." He said, "But turn it on as fast as I yell, just in case." He turns the light off, and the guy that's outside of the room literally watches the shadow figure like grab or like kind of engulf him, like with the blackness. The blackness kind of wraps around him. The guy screams, turns the light on, and he just runs out of the room and just says, "Run, run." They run downstairs, and he lifts up his he's got like the dress shirt with the button up, and undoes his buttons, and he's got hand marks on his arms like they had been singed into his skin, but there's no marks on his shirt. So they tell the priest the what had happened, and he goes up there to bless the area. He doesn't believe it because he's like, this is a church. This is God's house. So he really was kind of like, maybe they saw something that wasn't there that freaked them out. But how does that explain the handprints? He goes and starts to bless the room with prayer and sacred oil, holy water, and everything. And he starts saying a prayer, and the door slams behind him. And he immediately grabs the door, opens the door. There's no problem. The door opens right up. He goes into the hallway, starts saying more prayers. All the doors start slamming and slamming. And then he gives up. He's like, "I'm done," and walks down the hall, down the stairs. And apparently what had happened was he had to end up calling like the bishop or something. And there was some sort of, I don't know if it was an exorcism or a deep cleansing, but where the church had been built was actually a gallows area where the town gallows were. So there had been like hundreds of people hung in that area where they built this church. And whoever bought the property, the Catholic Church or whatever religion it was, they didn't do their due diligence and didn't realize, hey, there was a gallows here and all of those people died violently deaths. What do you think's going to happen? White boy, thank you so much. So just imagine how freaking angry those spirits were. Like, these are people that died, like raging people on top of, and here's the thing, like you could say, oh, they were criminals, but like in the days of gallows, when towns had gallows, people got hung for like random dumbass shit sometimes, like stealing food, when they were hungry, or, a lot of it wasn't the R word or murder or, the terrible, terrible crimes against humanity. There was just horse thieving, but people would be pissed if you stole a can of soup for your family because you were starving, and then you get hung for it. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Rando. Did you ever get the Millennium Falcon back? Andrea Dingbat, how are you? Camo Dad. So that's pretty much, yeah, I agree. A lot of them weren't, or they were just guilty of something like so. Like I can see like horse thieving or like cattle thieving. I can actually see because, back in the day, horses were like stealing cars. I don't really see it, but like murder or the R word or whatever, like really gross crimes or bad crimes. Yeah. But, justice was not justice back in the day. Hello from Los Angeles. You won the World Series. Where are you going? I'm going to fucking Disneyland. Imagine if like one of the baseball players is like, I'm going to a whorehouse. Oh man, that'd be so funny. Speaking of whorehouses, how about a Lizzo story? Smitty! Thank you so much. This is one of my favorite bands, Crosses, the lead singer of the Deftones and Team Sleep Chino. Thank you. If you haven't heard the band, check them out. They're a really good band. All right, it is a Lizzo, the Mr. Shackleneck. Holy shiznizzle, how are you, old feller? Thank you very much, my friend. You guys are really way too kind tonight. Thank you. Let me see here. Some of these I had, some of these I wrote, like, I've written so many of them lately, it's kind of hard to come up with ideas. So here we go. My pitching arm's sore. I won the series today. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I need a sip of Coca-Cola before we do this. Get it on crosses.com, Jager. Crosses.com. If a man talks dirty to a woman, that's sexual harassment. But if a woman talks dirty to a man, that's $7 a minute. Oh, Hercules, how are you, my friend? Me too, Smitty. Me too. I truly, I have a bootleg copy of Like Linus that I got in 1995. And it's got all of their old, like, Like Linus, I don't know, you probably know, is like a uber rare. There was 15 of them put out. I had gotten a copy, but they had added songs to it, like Right Brigade from Bad Brains, the cover of that, a bunch of other little covers and stuff. It is like one of my favorite music possessions still to this day. All right, here we go. The Steel Serpent, Earl's gleaming chrome and scarlet Kenworth, shuddered to a halt beneath the sodium lamps of the final hall truck stop. The air conditioner had died somewhere near Tucson, and the shimmering silence of the desert night pressed in, thick and hot, suggesting bad decisions. At least Lizzo thought the parking lot looked full. Lizzo, the undisputed queen of the lot lizards, adjusted the rhinestone trim on her denim bousiere. Her signature purple boa had begun to shed on a sticky vinyl seat. She glowered at Earl, who was happy checking his rig air pressure. "Earl," she stated, her voice deep, melodic drawl that usually halt traffic. "I hate this place." Earl, a man whose enthusiasm generally outweighed his common sense, waved a dismissive hand. "Nonsense, baby. Look at this joint. Busy, high profit margins, and they got a sign promising all you can eat fried catfish for $8. Lizzo sighed, the sound like a tire deflating slowly. Just 3 days ago, she had ruled the Rusty Spoon, a kingdom built on gravy, high-octane gossip, and respect. Now, on the run, convinced by Earl's promise of adventure and a more upscale clientele. "Earl Honeybunch," she said, tapping her crimson acrylic nail against the window. "The Rusty Spoon was honest. This place, the lights are too bright. And why is every single truck here a 1985 Peterbilt? Vintage, baby. They got class." Lizzo reluctantly opened the door. The moment her 5-inch snakeskin heel hit the asphalt, a wave of unnatural cold washed over her, smelling faintly of old coffee grounds and mothballs. The final hall looked like a platonic idea of a 1980s truck stop, a gleaming chrome diner, a row of fuel pumps, and a separate low-slung building housing the showers and laundry. But as they walked toward the diner, Lizzo noticed the details that made her lot lizard senses, honed by years of identifying trouble before it even laced its boots, scream in protest. Every single figure they saw, truckers leaning against their rigs, mechanics tinkering with engines, and employees sweeping the pavement, were utterly silent. And they were all pale, not just spent too long indoors pale. This was a milky, slightly translucent parlor of forgotten milk left in the sun. "I think the AC is working overtime," Earl muttered, shivering happily. They slid into a booth, the red vinyl cracked and sticky. A waitress immediately appeared, though neither Earl or Lizzo had heard her approach. She was a woman of powder blue uniform that looked stiff in dried starch. Her hair a towering beehive of the color of dry hay. Her smile was wide, fixed, and terrifyingly devoid of teeth and warmth. "Well, look here," the waitress rasped, her voice sounding like sand slipped through a drain pipe. She did not have a name tag, but Lizzo mentally dubbed her Agnes. "Haven't seen a fresh face in here in a long time." Agnes did not look at Lizzo. Her faded eyes were locked onto Earl. She leaned over the table, her breath utterly frigid. "What can I get you, big boy? Something hearty?" Before Earl could order, Agnes's hand, unnervingly cold and thin, shot out and clamped onto his bicep. My, Agnes sighed, tracing the outline of his arm hair with a fingertip that seemed to phase slightly in and out of existence. "Such warmth." Lizzo slammed the menu down, making a sound that echoed too loudly in an otherwise silent diner. "Hands off the merchandise, Agnes," Lizzo commanded. "We'll take 2 waters, a stack of pancakes for him, and a divorce lawyer for me if you don't get some damn professional service." Agnes recoiled, her spectral form shimmering slightly under Lizzo's glare. She seemed genuinely shocked by the aggression. She floated away slowly, still staring back at Earl with an expression of intense yearning for hunger. She's just friendly, Lizzo," Earl whispered, trying to smooth down the goosebumps on his arm. "That was not friendly, Earl. That was a ghost trying to absorb your life force through casual touch. And she had the audacity to touch the Queen's date." As Lizzo surveyed the diner, the situation clarified. The patrons were not eating. They were all just sitting, watching Lizzo and Earl. Their gazes were heavy, invasive, and filled with longing that was deeply inappropriate. A trucker in the next booth, who had not blinked in 5 minutes, slowly lifted a milky white hand and mimed a vulgar phrase toward Lizzo. Okay, Lizzo hissed, grabbing her purse. I'm going to the restroom. Don't move, don't breathe, and for God's sake, don't let Agnes refill your water. Lizzo marched toward the back hallway. The air was drier, colder, the wall plastered with decades of old peeling posters promising clean showers for 50 cents. The door to the ladies' lounge was heavy and stained. Inside, the ceramic tiles were clean, yet the air felt ancient and thick with sense of I don't even know. Lizzo positioned herself in front of the mirror, intending to reapply her lipstick and prepare a battle plan. She never got the cap reflection. The outlines of three spectral forms showed up. They were women, dressed in faded finery of forgotten decades. A flapper, a 50s housewife, and what looked like a disco queen. Their eyes were dark voids of need. A living one, the flapper ghost whispered breathlessly, her voice a faint clatter of beads. So vibrant, so solid. Look at those curves, the disco queen sighed, reaching out a hand that passed entirely through Lizzo's shoulder bag. We missed the heft. The housewife ghost simply giggled, a hollow echo sound that reached directly for Lizzo's rear end. This is not fear, Lizzo felt. This was rage, outrage that these desperate, low-rent spirits thought they could invade the personal space of a professional. Lizzo was a high-end lot lizard, a high-end whore. She dictated the terms of engagement. With a roar that startled the dust off the overhead vent, Lizzo spun around. Her purple boa flew through the air like a feathered whip. Hell no! You think you can just haunt cheap and grope expensive? Lizzo utilized the skills she normally reserved for ejecting drunks from her territory, snatched the nearest object, a rusty, heavy plunger leaning against the wall. Back off, you faded freaks! The housewife ghost, determined, phased her entire head through Lizzo's chest, trying to elect a scream. Instead, Lizzo let out a primal yell and swung the plunger like a spectral cricket bat. The rubber cap connected with the ghost's form, creating a strange, satisfying thump and sending her dissolving into a cloud of cold mist against the wall. Your form is weak. Your technique is sloppy. Get out of my bathroom, Lizzo roared, already moving for the next target. The flapper ghost tried to cling on to Lizzo's leg, hoping to drag her down, but Lizzo simply stomped. Her snakeskin heel, reinforced with a steel shank, made contact with the spectral's limb. The flapper let out a sound like shattered glass and disappeared. Now the disco queen shrieked, backing away. She's too heavy, too much soul. Lizzo stood panting, the plunger raised. That's right, I'm Queen Lizzo. You mess with the queen and you get the consequences. Lizzo burst out of the restroom, the plunger still held high, her boa flapping around her shoulders like a battle standard. The dining room clientele stopped their silent staring. Earl, we're leaving now. Earl, who had managed to get halfway through his lukewarm pancakes, looked up, a haunted expression settling on his face. Lizzo, honey, I think I got stiffed on the catfish. And the cook, he just kept whispering about how much he loved the feeling of my beating heart. That's because they're ghosts. They're trying to violate our boundaries. Get to the truck. The entire diner erupted into cold, spectral chaos. The silent patrons rose as one, gliding toward the couple with a sickening speed, their eyes hollow, their hands reaching, not threatening violence, but invasive, chilling attachment. The trucker ghost tried to block their path to the door, his face locked in a leering grin. Lizzo did not hesitate. She slammed that plunger directly into the non-physical gut. The ghost buckled and dissolved. Move it, Earl. Drive. They sprinted, Lizzo swinging that toilet plunger like a champion flail battling away spectral hands that tried to pinch, fondle, and generally violate. The ghosts were not trying to kill them. They were trying to grope them into eternal submission. They reached the parking lot where the air was now filled with low moans and greedy whispers of dozens of spectral truckers emerging from their vintage rigs. Start the serpent, Earl, now! Earl fumbled with the key, his hand shaking from the extreme cold. Lizzo stood sential by the cab door, her back to the truck. A wave of translucent figures surged forward. Agnes, the waitress, was leading charge, her beehive bobbing. Don't leave, warm boy. We just want to feel the heat. You want heat? Lizzo screamed, reaching into her purse and pulling out a can of industrial strength extra hold hairspray. You get the fire. Lizzo pointed the can and unleashed a stream of pressurized lacquer directly into the face of the nearest ghost. The chemical assault seemed to hit the spectral target like a physical blow. The ghost recoiled, shrieking, a sound like wind whistling through broken glass. Earl, go! The steel serpent roared to life, its engine shaking the very foundation of the haunted truck stop. Lizzo threw herself into the passenger seat just as Earl slammed the transmission into gear. Ghosts, frantic now, streamed into the parking lot, trying to stop the escape. One desperate spirit tried to reach through the window, but Earl accelerated, the serpent's massive tires spinning. They shot out onto the highway, leaving the final haul shimmering like a mirage in the rearview mirror. The silence broke only by Lizzo's heavy breathing. Lizzo tossed the plunger into the sleeper cab. That, she announced, peeling off her sticky boa, was the worst service I ever received in my 2 decades of the highway. And those were the cheapest, most perverted ghosts I have ever encountered. No class. None. Earl gripped the wheel, eyes wide. So no more adventure then. Lizzo retrieved her lipstick, carefully lining her perfect mouth. No, Earl. No. We are going back to the rusty spoon. I need to cleanse my spirit with honest gravy and good non-spectral men. And I need to start a petition to have the entire truck stop leveled. Nobody touches the queen without permission, especially not a flapper with boundary issues. She snapped her purse shut. Now drive, and don't stop until we smell honest diesel and stale beer. Johnny, how are you? Jimmy! There's Nikola Tesla. How are you, buddy? SDL, how are you? Tina Marie. Steve. Oh, much love from Finland. Thank you, Anne. Much love from upstate New York. Jimmy, Mr. Haunted. Lure, how are you? Julie, Johnny Sumner. DB Mac. How are you, buddy? Thank you, Gilbert. Rockin' steady. Yes, we did. We won. Did you know that it was a really good World Series? And for two records were almost broken in this World Series. So this World Series had 18 innings in one of the games, and it was like 6 hours and 48 minutes. The only other one was like in 1960 something or 70 something. And then if the Blue Jays had won tonight, they would have joined the ranks of the Twins and the Red Sox from being last in the normal season to winning the World Series. It's only happened like 3 different times, which was really cool. Really, really cool. It was a great World Series. Holy moly. Mr. BT, how are you? Bill Purdy, How are you, my friend? Jimmy, why aren't you saying hi to me? Are you mad at me? Oh, the truck stop. The final haul truck stop. The final haul. I would pay good money to see the Red Sox play the Dodgers. I think that'd be a great, great World Series. Which time? Which time, Rock and Steady? What's up, Robert Sharp? How are you, buddy? Two men disappeared in different days. One was found dead. One was found alive, but confused. Police. Do you have my email, Ann? Annel? Is it Ann? Yeah, Ann. Ann, do you have my email? Because if you could send me could you send me the news media on that? I'd love to hear it and check it out. Here, I'll give you my email. If you could send me the email of that, I'd love to read that. Bink. All right, my email is right under Stacy Lockett. How are you? And right above San Francisco's treat. I don't know, Sean. I think I do have a Black Eyed Kids one tucked away somewhere. Thank you, Rockin' Steady. That was so funny as I was commenting on where my email was. Stacy Lockett pops up. Thank you, Simone. Wesley September. How are you? All right. In order to protect myself, I must omit some details, but here's my experience. Years ago, I encountered a male who had, out of the blue, in front of his coworkers, pulled out his pocket knife and then started to repeatedly slash at his throat and trying to off himself. By time I got to him, he was covered in dried blood enough to where I could not read his tattoos on his chest and arms. He did survive. Then something happened that has been burned into my brain, something I could describe as the feeling almost unreal. He couldn't speak. He had destroyed his larynx and had to keep his head pointed down due to his injuries. I got down on one knee to look up into his eyes and try and talk to him. As I looked into his eyes, I felt hypnotized and like I was looking into the eyes of something primal, more than human. His gaze seemed to look deep into my soul. His eyes burned bright. The color I describe as yellowish ember. I can still feel and see those eyes. It was an intense, out of world experience, and we looked at each other's eyes for maybe 5 seconds, but it felt like we were exchanging a lifetime worth of unspoken words. I learned a few months afterward that he annihilated his whole family, wife, 2 sons, baby daughter, and then the family dog before finally offing himself. Nope. That's scary. Aramic, this one is for you. Are you still here? There he is. There he is. This one goes out to the man, the myth, the legend. Aramic continues his Mothman research. Here is a new story for the research book, Aramic. My parents described an eerie encounter they had while traveling down a back road. As they were driving, they saw something crouching down on the side of the road looking toward the ground. From maybe 75 to 100 yards away, it appeared to be the size of a wild boar. As they approached at 50, 55 miles an hour, it looked toward them, stood up, appeared to be a human like figure, 4.5, 5 feet tall, but then reached upward with huge wings and flapped them down. It flew upward in one big swoop and disappeared into the bright yellowish flash of light. As they passed by a spot where it disappeared, there was a heat haze lingering where the flash had been, possibly some lingering light. They did not mention red eyes. They were both freaked out and have the same exact description. I saw an episode on Hulu recently where this guy who investigated sightings of the Mothman, but I cannot remember the show. Shackle Neck, thank you so much. Holy crap, you guys are freaking so awesome to me tonight. Wow. Cannot believe you guys. Thank you. I am doing a lot lizard book, George. I'm gonna do a lot lizard book for everybody. I can hear the safe word. Is it Mothman? I'd like to start off by saying two things. I am not an avid believer in cryptids. I do not believe, but I don't fully believe. I have spent damn near my entire life in and around remote woods, from being a young kid and playing in the woods to deer and small game hunting and fishing. I know damn near every creature in New York. Today I went bow hunting in a place that I've been hunting, hiking, camping, exploring since I was 12. I'm now 40. I knew something was off when I was walking in because the birds were going absolutely insane. The squirrels were acting as if there was a large predator in the area. I get to my spot and climb up into the tree and sit. The woods are dead silent, which is not abnormal for about 30 minutes after climbing, but the woods never came back to life. About an hour after being in the tree, I felt like I was being watched. I could hear clicking coming from two different directions and what sounded like two creatures moving behind me. I stayed until dark, like always, and when I climbed down, I knew I was being watched. I started walking out, and I could hear the two creatures following me. I spun around and caught a glimpse of one of the creatures, between 3 and 4 feet tall, bipedal, smooth, whitish skin. I did not see its head. I turned back around and started to run to my truck. I fell over a downed tree. The two creatures began to click and chirp back and forth while getting closer at a faster pace. I got up and began running to the truck. I did make it to the truck and started up with the lights pointing into the woods where I'd just come from. The creatures stayed just outside of the light, but I could see them moving back and forth. Once again, I spent my entire life in woods. I have never been that scared, nor have I ever seen anything or heard anything like that. Crawlers. You know what that reminded me of? That experience right there reminded me of when I was up to where Tom Mezek disappeared. And when I was walking out of there, and there was one on each side of the trail. It was like the second time I ever went to Lily Pond Trail. Andy Davis, how are you, buddy? I do, Jager. I do. Flesh golems. That sounds like a bad name for condoms. Welcome to the new extra large flesh golems. Now in candy cane scented and flavored. So I'd like to preface by saying that I know my neighborhood pretty well. I live like an hour west of Detroit in an area filled with heavy woods. I can see my neighbors, but the homes are in clusters and the layout of the homes are entirely random. There are a lot of woods around and plenty of wild animals. Animals I am familiar with as I have lived in Michigan my whole life and have a very outdoorsy family. I am familiar with who lives where and which homes are how far from me. My brother had his first experience. We have a shed in our backyard. We converted into a little clubhouse area just for fun. He and his friends were in there around midnight, but not sure exactly what time it was, maybe after. And he heard something moving outside, so they got really quiet to listen. Again, outdoorsy guy, so he was ready to jump on seeing some late night wildlife. But from the shed, the both of them actually heard the singing of a woman. They made their plan to run inside, and my brother did a full check once they made it. He locked all the doors and windows, closed the blinds. My brother was pretty brave, educated kid, and I've never seen him so terrified. He said he could tell they were being watched, and that was not the first time anyone in this home has experienced that walking from their car to the front door or felt it through the open windows. I thought he was maybe hearing something wrong until it happened to me. I got home at around 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday, got out of the car to go to the front door and heard it as well. It was very similar to a classic little girl going la la la, repeated in a film a million times. My brother compared it to like 50s music, Billie Holiday, but far less musical. No instruments, no other voices, just that woman singing a cappella. It sent chills down my spine, and I felt like I was being stalked. I bolted inside, locked the doors, and went straight to my room. This up to a convenient experience, but this was months after my brother's. I didn't even remember or make the connection until the next day. It was not a radio, and it was not a TV. It was not a radio or not a TV. Genuine fear that shot through my body was unnatural. I understood how my brother now felt. Since then, we do not mess around with being outside. We go right in. My brother stopped going hiking, and I stopped sitting in the car for a while before going in at night. I rush right to the door because I never want to hear that singing again or feel that feeling again. I completely forgot about it until my mom brought it up to me. She said the other night she was coming home from the bar at around 2 a.m. She heard it as well. It scared her badly. She didn't believe us either until she experienced it. I'm sort of into cryptids, but I am mildly familiar with the lores and whatnot. I have no idea what this could be. Who knows? Maybe it's just the perfect noise at the right time. But I am sure it's not a neighbor walking or singing from the direction where the houses are. Only thick woods, really. I've never seen my brother afraid like that before. If he says something scared him, it is scary. We always feel like we're being watched. Being outside at night is always uncomfortable. We only have 3 instances of the singing over the course of, I'd say, 8 months, but it really was weird and scared us both. Spitball some ideas at me so I can maybe go down a rabbit hole, Jeff. I'm not sure what this is. Aiden Russell, how are you? Jenny, how are you? There we go. Got those suckers loose. Sonny the Wandering Gypsy, how are you, dear? Jay Cortez, Barracuda. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love both of those guys, even though I think Sean Ryan's a plant, but not really. I saw the interview. That was a great interview. I like the fire session they did. That was pretty damn cool. Doing well, Jay Cortez. How about you? The upstate shake. What does the NFL and Brokeback Mountain have in common? They both. Oh shit. It's just on Sean Ryan's channel. Sean Ryan and Mr. Ballin. All right. Still trying to figure out what I saw, cryptid or possibly something mythical. So me and 3 other friends went caving at night in Central Oregon. Pretty popular cave called Boyd's Cave. When we entered, we heard what sounded like something big breathing, and it reverberated through the entire cave, which is 2.5 miles in length to my knowledge. When we got to the back of the cave, though, the breathing stopped abruptly and was never heard again. When we exited the cave, which we did pretty hastily, probably 1,000 feet in the distance, maybe further, there were 3 sets of eyes glowing on the peak of a hill, as like cat's eyes do when they are hit with a flashlight, and would disappear when not shined on with the light. What was weird, though, was they were probably 30 to 40 feet off the ground and spaced apart, where there would have been at least a foot or 2 between each eye in every set. There was a set to both left and right, and 1 set in the center that sat probably 5 feet or more above the other 2. I went back the next day, and there are no trees, no vehicles, no campers in that area on that hill. It's just a blank hill. There's also no trail or road leading to the peak of this hill. That's freaking scary. Oh. Yeah, just never go into a cave anyway. I hate caves. He is a good storyteller. He's an amazing storyteller. What's crazy is he said he had gotten out of the teams in 2017 and he's never shot in a pistol or a rifle since, which I found pretty interesting. Lizzo needs to be president. She would shape this country back into business. She'd give Donnie a hug, maybe put the finger in the butt, set him right here. Let's do it. From the Lion King and O.J. Simpson, Simba is the African lion. O.J. Oh my God. Aramec. Holy moly. Just saying. I've been in a cave once, and I did not like it. I did not like going through the water. But when we got to like the end of the cave, it was pretty cool. There was like this big opening room. It was pretty neat. But other than that, no, thank you. I've been to Hollow's Caverns before, but no, this was in I don't consider that a cave because you're kind of on like an elevator and stuff. But this was in a cave in the Catskills. Robert Jarrett, how are you? Very interesting, SDL. They are very interesting. Jeb, how are you, my friend? cave in Venezuela, blind birds. There's a lot of um the the life forms that are in caves are very interesting because the majority of them are blind. I did not know about blind birds though. That's interesting. Like I know there've been blind fish that have been caught in like cave rivers and cave ponds and shit. I know some amphibians and reptiles that have been found down there are blind, which like makes the descent really. It's a logical movie to almost think like that really is a soft disclosure, 100%. Here we go. These two experiences happened almost a decade apart, and for obvious reasons, I cannot guarantee they are related, but it seems reasonable to entertain the idea. First experience takes place at my cousin's trailer, a couple of houses down from mine. We live in a rural town at the foot of the Appalachian region, so there's plenty of forest coverage around us. We were playing hide and seek, and all is well until I tagged my cousin and made him the seeker. He hated seeking, so instead of playing the game, he decided to quit and sit on his front porch. The time was around midnight, maybe a bit earlier, so naturally it was pitch black outside and perfect for scaring someone. My cousin's friend, my brother, and I began to devise a plan to get revenge on my cousin for being a sore loser. We came up with this. We'll lure him into the edge of the forest and have my brother jump out at him. A very simple plan for a couple of dumb 13-year-olds. So we got to it. We managed to convince him that there was something making noises in the woods. And so he came with us to investigate. As we walked the edge of the forest, we heard something inside walking with us. I looked at my cousin's friend and we were both grinning, knowing it was my brother beyond those trees. Then out of nowhere, my brother bursts from the side of my cousin's trailer, screaming and roaring, sending us all into a fearful panic. He got us good, so good, in fact, that we totally forgot about the noise coming from the forest. That could no longer be attributed to my brother. As we were all laughing about this scare, we heard a horrifying noise come from the depths of the forest behind us. It was a loud scream and sounded like a man screaming for help. It slowly changed pitch, and to this day, I swear it said help. Human sounding screams, it turned into the most guttural roar I have personally heard. It was chilling. We ran inside, and my cousin opened the blinds to his windows. And it was right then when we noticed the obvious and haunting sign of the full moon. Yeah, we don't know what could have made those noises. Yeah, there are farms around. It could have been a cow being attacked by coyote or pretty much anything that happens in rural America, but I have never heard anything like it before or since. Jump forward 9 years ago. I'm coming home late from work. As I am driving, I see two bright orange eyes peering at me from the side of the dark road. I thought it may have been a fox or a dog, but as I got closer, I realized it was no average dog or fox. It was a massive black wolf-like creature. This animal was so tall while on all fours that it seemed to almost be as tall as my car. Its back legs were almost kangaroo-shaped, very long and muscular looking, while the front legs were short and thin. It dashed across the road and in front of my car, jumping the fence to the left of the road with almost no struggle. When I got home, I nonchalantly told my family that I finally got to see the werewolf that made the noise so many years ago. I didn't necessarily believe that it was an actual werewolf, but I can't honestly say it wasn't. Anyway, I thought you guys might want to hear it. By the way, I know it wasn't a werewolf. I believe it was a Dogman. Keep a keen eye out on late nights on a lonely highway or lonely roadway when the moon is just right. Thank you. Cappy Hayes, how are you? Shackleneck, thank you for your generosity and thank you for having a enjoyable evening with us. Truly appreciate you being here, buddy. I'm glad that you're on the mend. Aramic! I got another story for you, Aramic. Actually, you know what? I won't do the Mothman story, Aramic. I'll give you this one because I know you like stories like this. I know in 45 minutes. Does it go back or forward, Janie? Does the clock go back or forward? Damn it. Just so you know, my hands are up. There we go. Gross. Fucking gross. Fall back. Okay. I know James Rank's story. Thank you, STL. Neutrino, if you're going camping, let me ask you a quick question, though. Just let me ask you. I got to ask Neutrino. So Neutrino's going camping, and he says, Jeff, I may go camping only if everyone on this live is with me. I'll have protection. So you will have protection. But if we are camping, and just by chance you happen to wake up with, well, a sore behind and a little bit of, well, personal lubricant somewhere, are you going to tell anybody? Because if not, I'll go. I will go. And I will tell people. DB Mac, this one's for you. And then I'll do the story for Aramic. It depends. It's still an hour and 18 in. Because $20 is $20 and Neutrino's going camping with me. Now you have to go camping with me, Neutrino. Tori, I hope you have a good night. Johnny Ohms. No, it was somebody once told me my cat took off. I am a rock star, Nicholas Carroll. So, when I was 10 or 12, 1992 to 94, myself, along with my brother, mom, and aunt, all moved into a nice house on the south side of St. Louis. It was your basic layout with houses 20 feet apart and built in the 40s and 50s. It was a nice 4-bedroom, and I remember my mom saying how cheap it was. Immediately after moving in, all this weird stuff started happening. Everything from doors slamming, footsteps upstairs when no one was up there. The TV would change channels by itself, etc. The annoying stuff, but nothing my 10-year-old self couldn't get used to. After a few months, we noticed things were getting weirder. The sinks in the basement used to spew black goo out of the drains, and that same goo would run down the walls throughout the house. What made it worse is it smelled like sulfur. The basement was scary. I never felt right being down there. My brother, who was 2 years older than I, would beg me to sleep in his room with him because he would say something keeps waking him up at around 3:04 in the morning, and it scared him. Now, my brother normally wanted nothing to do with me. We were always fighting and making fun of each other, so for him to ask was a pretty big ordeal. I remember one night we sat up all night waiting for 3:04 and nothing happened. Maybe I don't remember, or because we were awake, it didn't show. Also, in the backyard, I remember the soil looked silver. I still have no idea why or how it was this color, but my brother used to say it was the ground up tombstones. So many different crazy things happened in this house. I could go on forever about it. Eventually, one day, I was walking home from school, and when I got there, my mom was waiting outside in the car with all of our belongings in trash bags. She said to me, "Get in the car. We are moving right now." Whatever happened to her, she had never said. Over the years, she told me things like her and my aunt covered the upstairs with flour and immediately saw feet footprints. The remote control came up off the table into the air and was thrown at her, hit her in the face. My bed once flung across my room, and my toys were always all over the upstairs. When I wouldn't be home and I would have to explain to her, I always put them back before I left, so I didn't throw them around. After we moved out and moved into my grandmother's, I've never experienced anything since. A few years ago, I was up in the city around my old neighborhood and drove down that street, and to my surprise, the house is gone. Like there is a large concrete slab where the house used to be. This was a city street, so the missing out was very obvious. Even Google Maps shows an empty lot with the address number still being attached to it. I often wonder what happened. I personally think it was probably like the end of a poltergeist and it was sucked into another dimension or something. I wish I had more resources to look into what happened, but I have never been able to find any public records on the demolition. Most people just think I'm crazy when I tell them what happened in my childhood, especially since everyone in the house witnessed the same experiences. Zilla, how are you, my friend? Zilla, 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 Zilla. Red 4, how are you? What do in bungee jumpers have in common? If the rubber breaks, oh my God. Yeah, that is pretty weird, Sean. I think it probably got destroyed. You are a tough brother. You are tough, Zilla. You are tough. About the same, Neutrino. About the same. Oh, Redbird, there you are. You weren't here last week. Life with, hello. Life gets better, Zilla. Life does get better, brother. I'm going through some crazy shit right now, too, myself, actually. Jacob Hilliard, how are you? All right, where's that one? This one's pretty interesting. So, when are we going camping? Well, Nexus, I don't know. Next weekend? I hope it settles out for you, brother. I hope it settles out for you. There's Sully. How are you, my friend? Redbird, thank you so much. Jesus, thank you very much. You guys are being, wow. Like, thank you guys. Thank you. I really cannot thank you enough. All right, this one is very strange. One, because, well, you'll see. This is my only Dogman experience. I forgot about it for years after it happened until I started listening to YouTube channels and other cryptid podcasts, and I heard a story similar to mine that brought it all back. At the time, the similarity was so uncanny to me, and I am curious if anyone else has an shared experience. Revisiting it tonight, it's less similar than I remember, but I had already typed this out, so here goes, guys. I was a senior in high school. I believe it was spring break. My friend's mom was out of town, so we were at her house, and she rolled a blunt. This is northwestern Ohio. We went outside, smoked. I wasn't sure if we had even done it right. It was it was one of my first times, I believe. We went back inside in her kitchen. We started getting silly. I put a pan on my head, blah, 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 took a picture, giggled, typical teenage stoner stuff, cringe. I remember going into her living room for a moment to check out my phone and call my boyfriend at the time. Her living room had huge windows that basically sprawled from one side of the wall to the other and looked into the front yard and beyond the street. I was on the phone calling him, and as it rang, I was looking out the window absent-mindedly into the night. I was probably 10 to 12 feet from the window, and I was noticing how most of what I could see was a reflection of everything lit up inside the house behind me. I saw the TV on and whatever had been playing. It all happened in a flash. I was looking at my reflection in the window ahead of me, and I saw what I can describe as only a dog man in the reflection beside me, as in we were standing side by side, and I realized it would have had to have been standing directly beside me in the living room in order for this visual to occur. Still on the phone, which had been sent to voicemail and was recording all of this, I lunged onto her couch in a fetal position, slammed my eyes shut, and began sweating and batting it away. I never saw it in the room with me, but was perceiving being attacked by it in my head. I heard it growling and snarling as I flailed about. It's kind of a difficult explanation. It was almost like in a dream, but I was not sleeping. It was like the experience was momentarily inserted into my head, and my body reacted as though the entire time. I had a sort of fit on the couch for probably 15 seconds, phone still pushed to my ear, having a panic as well as a sort of delirium come over me. You were there, delirium? As I left a voicemail in real time telling my boyfriend we had smoked and I was being attacked by a dog man. With my eyes squeezed shut, I was perceiving it over me, almost kind of messing with me like a worker or actor at the haunted house when they would scare people. Obviously, I wasn't physically attacked, but it felt more like physically, the more I perceived it. Obviously, I wasn't physically attacked, but it felt more like physically. I had perceived. Elizabeth Sisney, thank you so much. I know, I couldn't believe it. Oh, thank you, Liz. I'm glad that you're here with us. I went from a very real panic state, covered my head, sweating my hands, to sort of deliriously laughing, came out of it as quickly as I went into it. Like I said, this all happened in a flash until I came across a video. I had decided it was maybe a panic attack or a hallucination, maybe a brief psychosis. However, I would go into it regularly all day, every day, marijuana smoker for 4 years in college following that spring break, and had nothing remotely similar happen. I don't smoke anymore, for the record. I know this sounds ridiculous, but do you think this could have been an interdimensional concept? and if perhaps my vibration was shifted just for a moment, or maybe it was laced weed. I would say, here's when I first read that, I was trying to think of what it was on the inside of the house. And then I thought, well, what if by chance it wasn't inside the house? What if by chance she was staring at it directly, like she's looking at it inside and it is outside? That's always a possibility. Joseph Canyon, Eli, how are you, buddy? I really think that possibly it was outside and the perception was off. That's about it. Or if it was super good. I was just talking about you the other day, Liz. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But I was talking about the Stephen Quayle and Tom Horn videos that you sent me along with the books too. I don't think it was a hallucination though. Or laced weed. I mean, I'm doing well. The World Series was not rigged. I'm doing well, Mike Turner. How about you? To the man in the wheelchair. Wait, I got to read this. To the man in the wheelchair. It's only camouflage shack. You can't. Scooby-Doo! Rocky Horror Picture Show was amazing. Holy shit. Absolutely, Neutrino. I was a drug addict for freaking 22 years of my life. Yes. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was freaking, it was so good because they had taken their own kind of, they put their own spin on it. They took liberties with it, which made it really funny. Like when they were driving the car in the very beginning, they had like this cool, like little car that they sat in. And when the tire went flat, instead of opening the door and looking out, he like put his head through the front part of the window and looked. When Dr. Frankenfurter had molested Brad and Janet, like he got Janet first and then went to Brad. And at the very end, like when he started doing stuff, but it was funny because like he went under the covers and like came back up and spit a Jimmy hat out on the floor on both of them. It was really funny. It was a really, really creative group of people. Live music was great. Saxophone player was amazing. The singing was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Oh my God, yes, 59th. I purposely bought an extra bag of the goodies to keep downstairs. Johnny Ohm, you got to see it live. It is probably one of the most interesting things. Like, I don't even know. It's very interesting. Just doing Arameg. Just doing autopsy. I'm eating anchovies with popcorn right now. Oh my goodness. That is filthy, Orion. Like an apple fritter. Delirium. Oh, yes, they lost. Thank the Lord. I'm just so glad it's 2 years in a row that the freaking Dodgers won. Neutrino, that's so cool. What's up, Christopher? How are you? I've been well. I hope you're doing well. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Here, cats and dogs. This one is very cool. I liked this one when I found this one. And then we'll do a lot lizard story. A little background about myself. I'm working in the healthcare industry, and I have a few clinics in my locality where I frequently visit. My visits involve a lot of travel, especially at nighttime, as I work in the emergency department. Throughout my life, I've always been a rational man. I laugh at a flat earthers, conspiracy theories, and generally have always been a follower of science. The country I live in probably has never heard of the reptilian conspiracy theories. I can tell you I live in the Middle Eastern country. So, around 3 years ago, I was traveling to one of my clinics when I had to take the river road due to ongoing work on the highway. It was nighttime around 1 a.m., and the river road was all dark. Due to the pandemic, people were generally staying in and the roads were deserted. Being a doctor, I was almost at work every day. Usually, I worked 10-hour shifts and came home late at night or early in the morning. Anyway, so as I am driving on the side of the road, I could hear the river slowly moving, pitch dark, with only my headlights illuminating the road in front of me. The area between the road and the river has short grass growing on it, and I could clearly see the river's edge and the road as it was. Since I was driving my Jeep, my headlights were high beamed to avoid accidentally going into the river. I could easily the riverbank and the road 10 to 15 feet in front of me easily see. As I was driving, all of a sudden, the corner of my eye caught something slithering from the river and in turning into a woman. The horror and shock of the moment still haunts me to this day. Anyway, as I'm slowly thinking if I am going insane, the creature turned to me and was covered in a sticky substance. It blinked and had normal eyes, but two sets of eyelids. It stared at me for a minute, then vanished into the bush on the other end of the road. I was still in my vehicle and shocked, speechless. I slowly gathered myself and drove away from that place that night. I delivered a healthy baby boy and assisted in a complicated C-section. I had myself tested and my blood work was fine. I had slept 13 hours and was not sleep deprived. My mind, years since, and I still cannot rationally explain what I saw. Even now, my mind tears itself up to find out what I saw and why I saw it. I have since moved to the West, but this memory is still very strange and bizarre. I cannot talk about it to anyone and cannot speak about it to my family, as my professional outlook would be compromised. I may let you guys know some more, but I'm not sure if I really can. I forgot to mention that I tried visiting the place late in the afternoon the next day, and I saw flaky, scaly gray dust by the river. I did not look in the bushes. Anyway, that's my experience. If anyone has experienced this or finds this interesting, let me know. I'd like to know what you experienced. Thank you. And again, have a nice day. They all pretty much got arrested, I think. Storm Zombie, how are you? All right. It is lot lizard time. I've heard that story, Storm. I've heard that story. I forget where. All right. All right, here we go. The scent of stale coffee, diesel fumes, and desperation hung heavy in the humid night air at the AAA truck stop. Chain link fences hummed with the distant drone of idling rigs, their chrome glinting under the sickly yellow glow of the security lights. This was Lizzo's domain, her kingdom of asphalt and broken dreams. Lizzo, a woman built like a prime mover with the heart of gold plated steel, held court from her usual spot near the gas pumps. Her sequenced top stretched taut across her ample bosoms, shimmering like a beacon in the gloom. Her laugh, a throaty rumble that could silence a bar fight or invite a good time, echoed across the tarmac. She was not just a lot lizard. No, she was the lot lizard, the undisputed queen of the triple by her girls and grudgingly respected by the dirtiest, loneliest truckers this side of the Mississippi. Tonight, business was slow, the kind of slow that made the diesel fumes feel heavier, the loneliness more oppressive. The girls, Wanda, a little sprite with a predatory grin, and Big Bertha, a mountain of a woman with a surprisingly delicate touch, were leaned up against their respective rigs, exchanging bored gossip. Earl, a grizzled veteran trucker with a suspicious patch over one eye and a half smoked cigarette dangling from his lip, was on the fifth cup of coffee, nursing a silent melancholia at the greasy diner counter. Slow night, Queen? Wanda drawled, adjusting her too short shorts. Lizzo sighed, taking a drag from her own cigarette, the cherry glowing a defiant red. Slow as molasses, doll. Makes a body wonder if the apocalypse is finally upon us, and nobody bothered to warn the working girls. She didn't know how prophetic her words would be. Suddenly, the humming silence was torn by a sound that made every truck driver flinch, every lot lizard pause mid primp. It wasn't a backfire, nor a blown tire. It was a high pitched, warbling whine, rapidly descending from the inky blackness above. The security lights flickered, then died, plunging into the main lot into the total darkness, save for an ambient glow of the distant highway and the celestial pinpricks of stars. A collective gasp swept through the small gathering. Then a blinding flash of emerald green light erupted from just beyond the truck wash, followed by a sickening thud that reverberated through the asphalt. The ground trembled. What in holy hell is that? Earl yelled from the diner doorway, eyes wide with a genuine terror and a cigarette forgotten. Lizzo, ever the pragmatist, grabbed a rusty crowbar she kept tucked beside her tire. Stay calm, girls. Probably just some drunk who stole a UFO. Even she knew how ridiculous that sounded. From the crater, now smoking gently by the truck wash, a squat, furry orange creature emerged. It stood no taller than a fire hydrant, with a snout like an anteater and wide, dark eyes, and reflecting a residual green glow. Its leathery, friend, multi-fingered hands ended in what looked like suspiciously oven mitts. It wore a tattered striped shirt, strangely familiar. Greetings, pitiful earthlings, the creature rasped, its voice a gravelly rumble that sent shivers down the spines. Gordon Shumway reporting for duty. A ripple of nervous laughter, quickly stifled, went through the lot lizards. It looked like a giant sentient cat, but it carried itself like a predatory confidence that was anything but cuddly. And then it sniffed the air. Its snout twitched, A look of intense, almost maniacal hunger spread across its face. Ah, delightful aroma, unexplored territory. Gordon Shumway, or Alf for short, as he was known from the ancient Earth sitcoms, declared, his big eyes zeroing on the nearest fleshy target. That target just happened to be Earl. That poor man, still clutching his thermos, half stumbled out of further into the lot. Curiosity overpowered his fear. Below anyone could react, Alf moved with a speed of belly stock in his frame. He darted toward Earl. A strange metallic device emerged from the pouch on his hip, a shimmering, multi-pronged contraption that looked disturbingly phallic. Hold on, buddy. What in tarnation are you doing? Earl squawked, trying to backpedal, but Alf was already upon him. With a daft, almost professional, past Earl's belt buckle, reached into the trucker's denim fly. There was a sickening squelch, then a high-pitched yelp from Earl that could strip paint. My one-eyed Willie, he's got my best friend, Earl wailed, hopping awkwardly, a look of shock violation plastered on his face. Lizzo stared, the crowbar slipping slightly from her sweaty grip. This was not some drunk. This was something else entirely. And it was violating Earl's best friend, a term everyone at the AAA understood to mean the prized possession of any man stuck on the road. Alf, meanwhile, hummed contentedly, his snout twitching with what could only be described as scientific curiosity, crossed with pure, unadulterated perversion. The strange device pulsed with a soft blue light fascinating, primitive, yet surprisingly robust. The treasure trove of unprobed potential, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. The other truckers, who had initially been frozen in disbelief, now began to stir. Their expressions ranged from horrified fascination to primal rage. A burly man named Big Jim, known for his short temper and even shorter fuse, threw his coffee cup to the ground. Get your damn paws off of Earl, you furry freak, he roared, lumbering forward. Alf merely glanced at Big Jim. His eyes glowed faintly. Another candidate for advanced bioassessment, he purred, detaching the device from Earl with a final slightly suctiony pop. Earl crumbled to the ground, whimpering, his face ghostly pale. Chaos erupted. Gordon Shumway, now energized with his initial discovery, began a bizarre dance of evasion and probing. He zipped between truckers, his strange device flashing, targeting unweary truckers and even a few of the more adventurous lot lizards who had lingered too long. Wanda shrieked as Ali was saved by the timely intervention of Big Bertha, who swung the tire iron with surprisingly agility. Keep your mitts off my girl, you overgrown ferret, Bertha bellowed, narrowly missing Gordon Shumway's head. Alf, however, was agile. He moved like a furry orange blur, his mission clear. He was not interested in money or fuel, or even the delicious scent of human catnip, though he did eye a stray tabby with keen interest for a moment. He was here for booty holes, and he was remarkably efficient. A series of shocked gasps, yells, and bewildered grunts punctuated the night as Gordon Shumway, or Alf as more lovingly known, went about his business. One trucker, caught mid-yawn, found himself suddenly bent over the hood of his rig, a look of profound shock on his face as the alien's device quickly did its work. Another, a timid younger man, fresh out of the truck driving school, simply fainted. Lizzo watched the cold dread mixed with a strange, almost. God damn it. Mixed with a strange, almost. I hate when this does that. Lizzo watched, a cold dread mixing with a strange, almost impressed sense of disbelief. She had seen a lot in her years at the AAA: fistfights, drug deals, even a Bigfoot sighting, which turned out to be a particularly hairy homeless man in a stolen fur coat. But this was a whole new level of what the actual fuck. A scary element was real: the invasion of personal space, the non consensual nature of aliens' acts, a sheer helplessness against such a bizarre, single minded force. But the humor was there too, bubbling beneath the surface. The utter ridiculous image of a beloved 80s character, now a horny protagonist, rampaging through the truck stop. All right, that's enough, Lizzo roared, stepping forward, her crowbar held like a sword. She was the queen. This was her domain, and no furry alien was going to turn it into his personal probing ground. Listen here, you little furry pervert. This ain't your all you can probe buffet. You want a good time, you gotta pay for it like everyone else. Elf paused, a half stiffening posture over a bewildered trucker who had emerged to see what all the fuss was about. He turned his eyes, dark and surprisingly intelligent, to Lizzo. A slow, predatory grin spread across his snout, revealing rows of slightly too sharp teeth. Ah, the alpha specimen, Alf purred, his voice oozing with a bizarre mix of curiosity and anticipation. The queen, I detect, untapped potential. A fortress of uncharted pleasure points. Lizzo stood her ground, the crowbar trembling slightly. She had faced down a knife wielding addict, an angry ex husband, but this was different. This creature radiated an aura of pure, unadulterated horniness, focused solely on one specific anatomical goal. You take one more step toward me with that thing, Lizzo warned, pointing the crowbar at Elf's probing device, which now pulsated with the almost eager glow. And you're gonna find out how this crowbar tastes. Elf, however, seemed undeterred. He tilted his head, a gesture that was both disarming, innocent, and deeply unsettling. But Queen, he whined, a hint of genuine childlike in his voice. My mission is clear: to explore strange new dimensions, to boldly go where no Probatron has gone before. Before Lizzo could respond, he darted forward. She swung that crowbar, a whirlwind of depression and righteous fury, but Elf was too quick. He ducked under her arm, his furry body surprisingly dense and strong, and spun her around faster than any top. She felt a strangely gentle yet firm pressure against her behind. A shockwave of sensation, entirely unexpected, shot through Lizzo. It wasn't painful, not at first. It was a jolt, a sudden, intense awakening of nerve endings that she never knew existed. The Probatron, still glowing faintly blue, wiggled and pulsated with a peculiar rhythm. Lizzo gasped, her eyes widened, losing their defiant fire and replaced with, well, pure, unadulterated astonishment. Her crowbar clattered uselessly to the asphalt. Her breath hitched. Alf, meanwhile, was wholly focused. Snout twitched, his eyes half closed, in expression of intense concentration. Oh, my sweet, that data is astounding, he muttered, his probes delving deeper, finding pathways and pleasure points that no human hand, no amount of careful foreplay had ever discovered. A moan, low, guttural, escaped Lizzo's lips. It was a moan of surprise, of surrender, of something entirely new and shockingly pleasurable. Her fingers curled into fists, not in anger, but in desperation need to hold on to something awaiting. Hold on to something awaiting. I hate when I lose my fucking spot. Sorry, guys. Anger. The initial shock violation. The initial shock violation quickly melted away under the wave of sensation that was both alien and profoundly embarrassing. Holy mother of truckers, Lizzo breathed, her voice ragged. The terror was gone, replaced by a seismic shift in her understanding of pleasure. This tiny, furry pervert from outer space was unlocking secrets she hadn't known about her own body. It was overwhelming. It was to her own utter shock, liking it a lot. Alf, sensing the shift, released a satisfying purr. Yes, the Queen's repository of joy is indeed bountiful. A moment stretched in entire bizarre intercellular pleasure. Lizzo's body hummed, thumping, vibrating with the energy that left her weak in the knees. Finally, a soft plip. Alf withdrew the probotron, which now glowed a triumphant green. Lizzo sagged, panting, her face a flush mess of confusion, exhaustion, and strange lingering afterglow. She looked at Alf, really looked at him, and now saw what was just a perverted alien, but a connoisseur of what? Pleasures. Well, Lizzo said, her voice still a little shaky, that was an experience. She cleared her throat, regaining the semblance of her regal composure. A damn good one, you furry little son of a space cat, Alf preened, puffing his chest out. My pleasure, Her Majesty. The data collected this evening will intergalactic intimacy studies. Lizzo narrowed her eyes. A spark of her old fire returned. She might have enjoyed it, but she was still queen of the AAA, and this alien had caused quite a ruckus. Earl was still whimpering about the fetal position. Big Jim threatened to arm himself with a tire iron, and her girls looked traumatized. All right, Gordon Shumway, or whatever your damn name is, Lizzo said, bending to retrieve her crowbar, which now felt laughably inadequate. You've had your fun. You've probed your fill. Now it's time to pack up your space dildo and get gone. Alf looked crestfallen, but the exploration, the further deep dives. No deep dives or further exploration tonight, pal, Lizzo stated firmly, pointing toward the still smoking crater. You've done enough damage. My girls are traumatized. My truckers are, well, let's just say they're questioning their life choices. And, damn it, life choices. Cosmic void awaits my return, brimming with unexplored portals. He gave Lizzo a knowing wink, which was surprisingly human. But I shall carry the memory of the Queen's magnificent lumbar region with me always. With a final wistful glance at the scattered, bewildered humans, Alf scuttled back into his emerald-glowing spacecraft. The hatch hissed shut, and with another ear-splitting whine, the small alien vessel rose into the air, a green streak across the inky blackness, and vanished into the stars. Silence descended upon the AAA truck stop once more, heavier than before, thick with disbelief and the lingering scent of ozone and something vaguely metallic. The security lights flickered back on, casting their pale, sickly glow. Lizzo stood amidst the wreckage of normalcy, surveying her shell-shocked subjects. Earl was being helped up by Big Bertha, muttering about never feeling truly safe again. Wanda was trying to explain to the bewildered cashier that no, she had not witnessed a mass alien probing. She was just really tired. Lizzo chuckled, a low, throaty roar that was still a little shaky. Lizzo chuckled, low, throaty, a little shaky, full. No amusement. She touched her behind. A faint blush creeped across her neck. Alf, the horny little space ferret, had certainly left his mark. A few truckers exchanged weary glances. The lot lizard snickered. The AAA truck stop would never be the same, and Lizzo, the queen of the lot lizards, now carried a secret, a cosmic whisper of pleasure that only she and a certain furry alien from Melmac shared. She'd always been the best, but now she knew a kind of best that was truly out of this world. And sometimes late at night, when the diesel fumes mixed with the smell of coffee, she'd find herself wondering when Glenn Shumway would be due for another duty call. After all, the Queen had her needs. And sometimes those needs were alien. Oh, man, my eyes are fucking killing me. That one was super long. Oh, I'll never write a long one like that again. There we go. Fucking blind now. Like an apple fritter. Oh, okay. Hi, buddy. I'm making a Vegemite sandwich. No, Vegemite. No. Life and Times. How are ya? Kimberly Flores, how are you? Louis Vega, long time. I know. Oh, Mork would be good. Vegemite is not. It's gross. But here's the thing: if I were to eat it from a wee bit of a lad to now, I may find it interesting. It was very salty. Wiley, what's up, buddy? I love you too, baby girl. D.L. Hemingway, how are you? I must have missed you. I'm sorry. How are you? And good night, my friend. I would rather eat Vegemite than anchovies, though. I would eat Vegemite over anchovies, without a doubt. No, it does not taste like anchovies. I like caviar. Caviar's good. Papa, how are you? Was gaming too long. Vegemite is this. It comes in a little jar. My jar's downstairs. It comes in a little jar. It's brown. It's like poop colored brown. It's very salty. It stinks like the high heavens. And yeah, it's filthy. But I would eat it over anchovies any day. Ugh. Ugh. Oh. Dude, it's so funny. Orion's text or message just got me thinking. Someone sent me a message the other day and had me check out this story, right? And there's people from this channel that are talking about it in the comment section of the video, right? I scroll in the video because I'm reading like what the channel's about. It's a creepy pasta channel, and people are talking about it like it's a real Dogman experience. And I wanted to comment like, guys, it's a creepy pasta channel. It really says, I create horror stories. These are not real. And I'm like, holy shit, guys, please don't. It was crazy because there was like 5 of the subscribers that are here. Not here now, But it was so weird. I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second. But I didn't want to be like a jerk and be like, guys, the guy says, he literally says in the channel, he says, these are not real stories. And people are like, Jeff says Dogman does this, and Jeff said that werewolves in Victor. And I'm like, you guys are talking about a creepypasta. I already did a video about Three Eye Atlas. Remember Delirium? It's well, I think the more I think about it is the more thank you, Kimberly. The more I think about it, I believe that it is a spaceship. I believe it's seeding the atmosphere. When I asked AI to tell me what AI thought about it, they still think it's the rake, don't they, 59? But I believe it's a spaceship seeding the Earth. There's a I don't remember the exact wording of what they said, but thank you, Papa. All right, let me try to read this. I can't believe that Lizzo story was so long. What the hell was I thinking? Back in college, maybe 10 years ago at most, a best friend and I got a ride to her house from a party in Reno, Nevada. I lived a block away, so planned to smoke a couple cigarettes with her on the ratty patio couches of her place before walking home. As best as we can remember, it was close to 2 or 3 a.m., and we consumed that night of alcohol, probably mixing beer and liquor, no other controlled substances. We're sitting on separate couches on either side of the front door of her house. Neither of us noticed what looked like a pile of black trash bags across the street. Was it recyclables? Who knows what? But we're just shooting the shit, catching up on who made the biggest ass of themselves that night. When that lump of whatever suddenly rose across the street. The thing didn't push itself up or bend its knees. This thing rose from horizontal to vertical, like you'd see a vampire do in cheap horror movies. It towered nearly as tall as the stop sign next to it, with the streetlight casting an ominous shadow. It was looking at us. From memory, I can guess it was just before or right after winter term started, so January. The frigid air condensed clouds of breath coming from this bulking figure's chest. The light above prevented us from seeing its face or any other distinguishable features, but it was huge. Its shoulders heaved with each breath. I couldn't see its eyes, but somehow knew/felt that it was staring straight at this porch and us. Neither of us could move. I tried to whisper a warning to my friend to get up, get inside. I can't, she rasped. We can't remember how much time had passed, but we remained immobile, fearing that whatever moved first would trigger an attack. The thing was just kept breathing and staring at us. I somehow got the nerve to stand up, grab my friend by her wrist, dragged both of us inside, locked the front door, and turned off the lights. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen. I grabbed a rolling pin. Yeah. When we returned to the living room, we pulled back the curtains and looked for that thing. It was still there, just staring directly at us, breathing and watching. We can't recall how much time had passed, but eventually the thing ran across the street, toward her yard. It ran back, it ran in circles to the intersection, back and forth down the other street, all at a speed completely incapable of being a human. Eventually, it ran again at what seemed like Superman speed down the road away from my friend's house and out into the neighborhood. None of her roommates or our friends believed us at this time, and now they assume we were just stoned. We were not. Or we just wanted a story to share at parties. But I've never heard two drunk college girls hallucinating the same thing. And were we both were so terrified that we slept in the same bed that night, pulling it away from the window and facing the street, knife and rolling pin at hand. My dad once told me, a friend of this story, and he thinks it was a Mothman. Another college student later died on that street. I wondered if it was a Sasquatch slash cryptid, but are those known to move so fast? Yes, they are. Coolie Tunes, how are you? It was the dome. It was the dome, STL. It wasn't a sitcom. It wasn't funny. It was the dome. Stephen King book, I believe. Ryu! Oro kick! 1-8 versus 100 draconian. The draconian would one draconian would kill an ape. I am doing well. I am doing well. Yeah, it was Under the Dome or The Dome. I think it's on HBO, SDL. It's a great show. Great book, though. The book's even better. And I'm not a fan of Stephen King. Well, I am. I like Stephen King's writing. I'm not a fan of him as a person. I just don't think, I don't think people in Hollywood or authors, I think they put themselves on a pedestal. You know what I mean? They put themselves on pedestals. And because they believe in something, we all need to believe in that same thing. Like, no, we have our own beliefs. That's our thing. Like, I am a registered Republican, but I don't believe in everything Republicans agree on. I don't agree on anything Democrats agree on, but like, I think we are all entitled to our own thoughts and theories and shit like that. So I don't need some old guy who was a better writer when he was on coke and alcohol telling me how to think. You're welcome, Sully. Oh, they're part of the Luciferian agenda 100%. My daughter likes Demon Hunters. My daughter's been watching Demon Hunters for like that show for 4 or 5 years now. There's another anime that's pretty funny, The Death Note. Oh, I have, Mike. I have. But I'm just saying he was a better writer when he was on that. My daughter had me watch it with her. I can't get Night Delirium. Thank you for Thank you for that generous gift, Delirium. I hope that you're doing well health-wise. My daughter also watched this weird anime. It was so weird. Anime are weird. I like anime, but everyone was a transvestite in this fucking anime. It was so weird. I was like, what the fuck are you watching, Isabel? She's like, it's so funny, Daddy. Sit down and watch it with me. I'm like, okay. Dude, I don't think anyone can trust Tom Cruise. A man who wears purple pants and a purple shirt and walks like this. Nope. Nope. Dude, he's got that short sleeve purple shirt with the fucking stripes on it. He's like, I do all my own stunts. L. Ron Hubbard smells my butthole. You ever seen the YouTube videos where the guys are trying to escape Scientology? They're jumping over the fence. They're like, we can't jump over the fence. We're too afraid they'll get us. And he's like, even more away from the fence. Yeah. Like, punch the motherfucker. Just punch him in his head. Jump the fence. Like, don't be a fucking Jeez. My daughter is Wiley. My daughter, not me. Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. I agree, Ann. Remember when he did this? Woo! Dude, he is weird guy. Weird guy. You know he participates in some weird stuff too. I bet you there's butt touching. And I bet you it's not him touching butts. I bet you they're touching his butt. Tom Cruise is definitely a bottom. I'm going to disappear for that one now. Years ago, when I was younger, I used to have friends over. One night, we were all out on the porch, 7 of us in total. Myself, 2 of my sisters, my brother, and 2 friends. We are out on the porch. It's 1 a.m., just telling ghost stories, scariest experiences we've ever had, etc. We lived in a roughish neighborhood, but there was 7 of us, so we weren't really scared about being out late at night. All of a sudden, between all the laughing and scary stories, someone pointed out a big dog walking down the street. To me, it looked like a Rottweiler. Same shape, same size, but we did not see anybody walking it. We were all scared it was a stray and it would come and attack us. We kept watching it. It kept getting closer, but we noticed we did not hear anything. No panting, no claws hitting the pavement. And the oldest person there said that it was a devil's dog coming for us because we were out late telling scary stories. We all got up and go inside, fearing the stray dog would get us. But then the dog passed behind a car parked on the street and it disappeared. We never saw it come out the other side or back the side it come from. We were all standing there scared, waiting for it to reappear, but it never did. We all got the chills and went inside contemplating on what we saw. Oh yeah, Tom Cruise is definitely crying somewhere, panting, out of breath, dreaming of camping with Neutrino. I'm just kidding. But Tom Cruise wakes up with the sore butt and the sticky stuff. Can you imagine? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Barracuda. Can you imagine being that delusional and thinking that you're that right? Like, you've got to wonder, like, I watch the live sometimes and I look at myself and I'm like, you really acted like an asshole right there. You're an idiot. But like Tom Cruise always acts like an asshole on TV, like in interviews. I could never, ever, ever. Tom Cruise is the kind of guy that goes to one of those freaky gimp bars, listen to Mickey Avalon. Oh boy. Do you know anything about how elites eat mermaids? I've heard that. I've heard that before. I've heard that they hunt them and they're supposedly a delicacy. But I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest with you. Yes, it was, Julie. It was. It was definitely a shame. Tom Cruise selling cock for rock. I was 18 or 19. My mom was very strict about having people over because she smokes pot. This was about 10 years ago, before it was common. And I ended up sneaking my best friend into my house to spend the night because of a bad situation at hers. So, the way my room was laid out was the head of my bed was against the outside window. Hang on a second. Okay. I thought I read this last week, but I was like, nope. Okay. All right, here we go, kids. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, thank you, Papa. I was 18 or 19. My mom very strict about having people over because she smokes the weed. This was about 10 years ago, but it's common now, I guess. And ended up having to sneak one of my best friends to the house to spend the night because of a bad situation she had at her house. So, the way my room is laid out was the head of the bed against the outside wall, next to the window facing the entrance to my bedroom. To the left of the bed was the mentioned window, and against the left side of the wall, the entertainment center. To the right was the right wall, bed pushed solid against it because it is a small room, and the door connecting to the bathroom, which lined up with where your knees and waist would be while lying down. So we ended up going to bed with the TV on. I passed out because I'm a deep sleeper. The following morning, as my mom is getting ready for work, we are waking up, and my friend tells me that she saw something in the middle of the night. Side note, my mom's house was and still is relatively active with stuff. Someone passed in what was actually my room. I was moved out before I found out about this. Out of curiosity, I asked what it was. She said she was watching TV and saw this tall shadow come out of the wall on the right side, the bathroom side, near the foot of the bed, starting to walk towards the opposite wall, but it kind of slowed down to look at her before continuing to walk and eventually passed through the entertainment center. She said she tried to wake me up. I told her to go back to bed, which is honestly believable because I tend to shrug off weird stuff when I'm sleeping. So my mom goes to work. We sneak out of the house and walk to her grandparents' house, which is a few blocks away, and forget about the experience, playing video games and swimming and watching YouTube. It gets to about 3 p.m. or so. I walk home, I get home and decide I want to read. I get into bed, sitting with my back against the headboard facing toward the door. We had a dog, a mastiff, who jumped up and curled at the end of the bed. I'm reading for a while when all of a sudden I look up toward the door for no reason I can figure out. The dog does the same, his ears tilted forward like he's listening. Now it's like time slows down and I see a tall shadow, 7 feet tall, slowly walking past my bedroom door. It's humanoid but pitch black, not transparent in the least, except for its head and face. Where its face would have been is a glowing red orb, hard to explain. But it's like the red light was inside of this thing, and I could see it glowing through the shifting shadows, like when the moon at night with the fog moving, it passes across the door from right to left. And as it gets almost to the left side of the door frame from my view, its head turns, looks at me before just continuing on and passing, and it passes out of my line of sight. This whole instant probably took 2 seconds. It seemed to be walking at a casual pace, but it felt like an eternity. I wasn't really afraid, but I couldn't move. It was like I was frozen looking at this thing until I couldn't see it anymore. Then the spell was broken. So speak, my dog had the same reaction because as soon as it was out of sight, he lost his mind. He's usually really laid back, didn't even bark when people came to the door. But he jumped off the bed and went rushing into the dining room, the room outside of my bedroom, and was growling and barking like crazy. I got up and there was nothing and nobody. I've never seen anything like that before or since. And it's been a long time. The more I research shadow people, the more I think it was one because it seems to line up with a lot of other experiences. Ugh. Ugh. I don't remember Vanilla Sky. I remember it vaguely. Yeah, but Tom Cruise and John Travolta are not friends anymore. They're not good. And what's up with what's up with John Travolta when he's bald sometimes? Does he spit shine that? You know Tom Cruise licks that shit when he's bald. He's like, oh yeah, they get freak nasty together. I'm lucky. Why am I lucky? I found the movie Blow Out on VHS. Rare find. Like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Yeah, buddy, they are like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Or they're more like Dirk Diggler and Roller Girl. NES system. Nice. Nice. Wait, the original one, like the with Kung Fu, Super Mario, Duck Hunt? I don't remember Vanilla Sky at all. I remember vaguely. bits. I don't remember even bits and pieces of it. No, Neutrino. Sadly, I was not. Health-wise, I couldn't pass the. I wanted to go, but I couldn't. Tank Girl is awesome. Earth, one of the greatest movies on earth. Tank Girl. Jamie Hewlett. It's a Jamie Hewlett creation, which is part of the Gorillas. Thank you, Neutrino. The Burbs. I didn't like The Burbs too much. I liked I'm trying to remember it too. I liked The Money Pit. The Money Pit was better than The Burbs. Yeah, it is amazing, Tiffany. Good call on that though. Tank Girl. I haven't seen that movie in so long. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow now. Biodome. What was Biodome? Is Biodome with that fucking Brendan Fraser guy? Biodome, Brendan Fraser and Pauly Shore? Is that Biodome? Yes, it was. Yeah, wasn't it called The Dome or something else? Didn't they have to change the name? Didn't they have to change the name originally or something? Encino Man. Yeah, but there was one when they were in a bubble. Was it Biodome? Wasn't Brendan Fraser in? Was he in a dome in that? I think, you know what? Hang on. I believe Biodome was Encino Man. Hang on. I heard this before. Encino Man. Biodome. God damn it. What did the Encino... Did they ever change the name to Encino Man?
No, the movie's name was never changed. It was originally titled Encino Man.
California Man.
Although it was released as California Man in some other countries.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Biodome. Vanilla Sky. Cameron Crowe reunite Jerry Maguire for Vanilla Sky, a story of young New York City publishing. Oh, Jesus. Nope. So glad I never saw that movie. So glad I never saw that movie. Andy Davis, have a good night, brother. Good seeing you. Thanks. Thanks for always being here. You are truly a man, the myth, the legend. The fucking saga continues. I know. 5 rings. 2 years in a row, brother. 2 years in a row. I've been waiting for you to pop in tonight. I warned you. All right. This is the last lot lizard story of the night. The fluorescent hum of the truck stop was Lizzo's symphony. She was the undisputed queen of the asphalt kingdom, a veritable empress of the lot lizard trade. Her throne was not velvet, but the cracked pleather of the Waffle House booth. Her crown, a shimmering bandana tied so. Tonight, though, her heart played a different tune, a sweeter melody than the usual jingling of quarters and whispered transactions. Tonight, Earl was in town. Earl, the name itself rolled off of Lizzo's tongue like honey mixed with diesel fumes. He wasn't your typical clientele. Earl had a poetry to his grimy hands, a soulful gaze that could melt the frosty air on a November night. He wasn't just a transaction, he was her boy toy, her dream waiting at the end of a long haul. They had met 6 months ago, a whirlwind of cheap beer and stolen kisses behind the dumpster, and Lizzo had been hooked ever since. Tonight, Earl was parked in his usual spot. The behemoth rig gleamed under the harsh sodium lights. Lizzo adjusted her sequenced halter top, the sequences catching the light like 1,000 tiny disco balls. She was ready for her king. As she sauntered towards Earl's rig, a shadow fell over her. This wasn't just a shadow of it wasn't a shadow of a hungry trucker. This shadow was denser, more malevolent. It smelled of stale incense and cheap hairspray. Oh, it was Wanda. Wanda, the wicked witch of the south side of Chicago. Her territory usually ended at the city limits, but apparently her reach was as long as a semi trailer's. Wanda was the rival, a greasy hag who had been trying to muscle in on Lizzo's lucrative business for months. She tried everything, casting petty hexes, spreading rumors, even attempting to steal Lizzo's favorite tube of glitter lipstick. Well, 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 Wanda rasped, her voice like gravel being dragged across asphalt. Look who it is, still peddling your wares, Lizzo? Lizzo halted, her hips giving a subtle sway that spoke volumes of her confidence. And look who it is, still smelling like regret and cheap gin. Wanda, haven't you heard? This is my domain. Wanda's eyes, small and beady like a rat's, narrowed. Domains can be conquered, darling, especially when you have assistants. She gestured vaguely towards Earl's rig. A sickly green light flickered within. A cold dread washed over Lizzo. Earl, she had left him to grab a coffee, promising to be right back. What could Wanda have done? Suddenly, the door to Earl's rig burst open, but it wasn't Earl, not the Earl Lizzo knew. This Earl was a hulking, snarling beast, his eyes, usually soft and brown, now glowing with an unnatural emerald fire, his muscles bulging, contorting his frame into something monstrous. He was a weapon, a tool of Wanda's wicked menageries. He lunged. Lizzo yelped, dodging his clumsy, enraged swipe. Earl, what the hell? Earl, or whatever possessed him, let out a guttural roar and charged again. Lizzo, for all her queenly swagger, was no fighter. Her talents lay in precision, not brawling with a demon-possessed lumberjack. Panic flared, but then her eyes landed on a familiar chipped paint of the truck stop's communal bathroom, an idea born of desperation, and Lizzo's inherent pragmatism sparked. Oh, no, you don't, sugar, she muttered, scrambling toward the bathroom. Earl was right behind her, his monstrous form a terrifying silhouette against the night sky. She flung open the bathroom door, the hinges screaming in protest. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of disinfectant and, well, something else, something foul. She ducked into the nearest stall, fumbling with the do not disturb sign hanging over the flimsy door. Earl, baby, it's me, she cried, her voice trembling. We got to figure this out. Earl, driven by Wanda's hex, paid her no mind. He slammed his massive fist against the stall door. The thin metal groaned under the impact. Lizzo's mind raced. She remembered a trick her grandma, a woman who dealt with more than just bad customers, had taught her, a little bit of old school protection magic. She quickly grabbed the do not disturb sign, its cheerful yellow mocking the horror unfolding. If the stall is a rockin', don't come a knockin', she whispered, reciting the incantation her grandma swore by. If the stall is a rockin', don't come a knockin'. It wasn't perfect, but it was all she had. She pressed that sign firmly onto the outside of that stall door, a flimsy barrier against this monstrous force. Suddenly, the pounding stopped. A low, guttural groan echoed from within the stall, then silence. Lizzo held her breath, her heart hammering against her ribs. It had worked. Had the sign and her whispered words somehow contained this monstrous energy? Slowly, tentatively, she eased the stall door open, and there he was, Earl, slumped against the commode, looking dazed, his clothes rumpled, and his eyes were back to their familiar, loving brown. He was bleeding from a small cut on his forehead, but he was himself. Lizzo, he mumbled, his weak voice. What happened? Lizzo rushed to him, her relief washed over her in waves. She hugged him tightly. Oh, Earl, thank God. Looking confused. I don't remember anything, just darkness and rage. Lizzo's gaze flickered on the bathroom door. The do not disturb sign was still hanging there, a silent testament to the madness that had just transpired. As she looked at Earl, a strange sensation boomed in her belly. A warmth, a tingling. She felt different, stronger, the lingering energy of a hex, perhaps, somehow, transferred. Don't you worry, baby, she said, a new fire in her eyes. It's all over. But it wasn't, not for Wanda. Lizzo helped Earl out of the stall. He was still a bit shaky, but she could see the wheels turning in his head. He trusted her. That was all that mattered. As they emerged from that bathroom, blinking in the harsh lights, Wanda was still there, a smug look on her face. She clearly hadn't expected Lizzo to survive, let alone for Earl to be pacified. Well, that was unexpected, Wanda sneered, her eyes darting between Lizzo and Earl. But don't think you're out of the woods yet, honey. That was just a warm-up. Lizzo's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. The lingering energy within her pulsed. She felt a power she hadn't known she had possessed. You know, Wanda, Lizzo said, her voice low and dangerous. You picked the wrong night to mess with a man. She took a step forward, her hips swaying with a newfound authority. And the wrong queen to try a hex on. Wanda scoffed. You think you can take me? I've got decades of dark magic on you, girl. And I've got a night of being turned into a weapon by you, Lizzo retorted, feeling the rage of the adrenaline. And let me tell you, it gave me a hell of a boost. She remembered her grandmother's words, her own experiences. This wasn't just protecting Earl anymore. This was about defending her kingdom, her livelihood, her pride, and maybe, just maybe, it was time to show the Southside hag what a true queen of the truck stop could do. With a primal scream, Lizzo, it wasn't graceful fight, it was chaotic perfume and raw, untamed energy. Lizzo, fueled by something beyond her years of experience, surprised Wanda at every turn. She dodged Wanda's clumsy attempts at hexes, her newfound agility a blur. She used surroundings, the very asphalt on the truck stop, to her advantage. She kicked Wanda in the shin with a surprisingly sturdy wedged heel, sending the witch blinking and stumbling. Wanda retaliated with a spray of what smelled suspiciously like expired milk. Lizzo, undeterred, grabbed the discarded hubcap and used it as a makeshift shield. You think you're going to stop me? Wanda shrieked, conjuring a shimmering green orb in her palm. Honey, I've dealt with worse things coming out of a truck stop bathroom, Lizzo said, her voice laced with venom. She lunged again, and this time connecting with Wanda's face in a stinging slap. Wanda staggered back, her carefully koofied hair askew. The green orb flickered and died. Lizzo presented her advantage. She wasn't about to let this hag run right into her. She grabbed Wanda by the cheap lace collar and yanked her forward. You messed with the wrong lot, lizard bitch, Lizzo snarled, her voice raw. Now get out of my territory, and don't you ever come back. With a final powerful shove, Lizzo sent Wanda tumbling into the side of the road. She looked down at her hands, still tingling of the residual energy. Somewhere along the line, in the chaos, Earl transformed and the assuming battle. She absorbed a bit of wicked magic and felt good, empowering. Earl looked more and more like himself with each passing moment. Approaching her, his hand outreached. Lizzo, are you okay? Lizzo turned to him, eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. She gave him a dazzling, albeit slightly wild smile. Never, baby, never, she said, her voice husky. She pulled him closer, the scent of diesel love filling her senses. Now, about that boy toy service you owe me. The fluorescent hum of the truck stop seemed to pulse a little brighter tonight. Lizzo, the queen of the lot lizards, the truck stop prostitutes, had not only defended her man, but had also proven that when provoked, even the most dazzling empress of asphalt could unleash a fury more terrifying than any hex. And as for the wicked witch Wanda of the South Side, let's just say she learned a valuable lesson: never to mess with a queen who had her man turn up as a weapon and then try to fight him, because that queen, she was now a force to be reckoned with. Oh. All right, I'm going to do one more story in on the night because I am drained. Oh. David, how are you? There, Wolf? So I'm 40 now, but this happened 20 years ago. I was born and raised in Florida Panhandle, and that's where it happened. It happened on Quinette Road, right at the bridge crossing the Escambia River on the west side of the bridge. It was around 2:30. The area is more built up now than back then, just along the road with no street lights. If you look it up on Google Earth, there is a wildlife management area, and a river runs all the way through Pensacola Bay going south. And if you also look at that map, the heavily wooded area around the river runs all the way north to the Georgia and Florida National Forest. As I was coming down the road, I headed west. I saw something on the driver's side of the road in the distance, had no idea what it was or what I was looking at. It looked like an animal of some sort. As I got closer, I didn't want to hit it if it tried to cross, so I stopped 100 feet away. When I stopped, it started to move on all fours diagonally across. But as I was looking at this thing, I was in shock at how large it was. It was oddly colored for an animal in this area. There are black bear in the area, but this was much larger, and it was dark, dingy gray fur color. As it crossed the road to my passenger side, it stood up. I never experienced this level of emotion ever. It was like a primal type of fear and shock. I could not believe what I was seeing, but I knew I stood no chance against this thing. If I decided to attack, if it decided to attack and it was just standing there, it looked staring at me. I'm frozen because I am looking at a Dogman. It had to be at least 7 feet tall, 500 pounds, glowing reddish orange eyes. When it disappeared into the tree line, I stomped on the gas to get away as fast as I could. I did not talk about my encounter for over 7 years and finally just started to share it now. Oh, all right. 3-hour live stream. I am crashing tonight. Fucking eyes again. I gotta literally figure something out with my sleep schedule. I gotta get more than like 4 hours of sleep a night, or 4 hours of sleep a night. Good night, Julie. All right, guys. Thank you for a wonderful Saturday night. I'm glad that the Dodgers won tonight. Holy cow, what a start to the night. Yes, 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 yes. Zilla, I'm so glad that you're here with us, my brother. I really appreciate you. Edith. All right, my friends, family, and lovely Dogman people, stay well. I'll see you next Saturday. And I don't know. I'm literally thinking about my bed right now and just crawling in it. But all right, guys. Good night. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I appreciate everything. Love y'all.